Hello there, guys. Welcome back to my channel for yet another Premier League live preview ahead of Chelsea taking on Fulham at Stamford Bridge tomorrow evening, afternoon, whatever you want to call it, with the kickoff being at 5:30 p.m. UK time. And as you can, maybe tell, don't know if you pay enough attention to actually be able to tell, but this is a later stream than usual for me. There was a lot of streams going on at the same time. I was really, loads of people seemed busy, but then the man himself, one of my favorite guests to have on this channel on a regular basis, Mr. ConnCFC, turned up, became the hero that we always knew that he is, and said, yeah, sure, jump on. So here we are, doing a Chelsea against Fulham preview with the man himself. Con, first of all, Con, how are you? Secondly, thank you for coming on. And thirdly, how are you feeling ahead of tomorrow?
You don't have to thank me, Laurenz. It's always a pleasure, like I say. Thanks for having me on again and coming a regular guest here. I'm enjoying it.
Exactly.
A bit worried about tomorrow, I can't lie, because I know we'll probably rotate a lot. So I just, them games against like Sheffield, etc., where we haven't looked great when we've rotated heavily. So I'm a little bit nervous, but positive thinking, projecting positive energy, and hopefully we get the job done.
That's exactly it. Like, it's weird, and I saw Mod tweet exactly that earlier. How is it that he and I'm the same, felt more confident ahead of the bloody Real Madrid game then we feel ahead of 18th place Fulham? But that's just how our season's been. That's just how our season's been. Maybe not at the start of the season when we beat everybody other than the big teams under Frank, but then especially since Tuchel's taken over, we beat all the big teams or play really well against all the big teams with a draw against Madrid, but then bottle it against the smaller teams. Obviously, we dropped points already against Wolves, his first game in charge. Maybe we shouldn't read too much into that, but Leeds, Southampton, bloody West Brom, bloody... what's the other one? Brighton. Do you know what I mean? Like, all these teams that we bottle it against, let's not do that again tomorrow. There's a lot to discuss, actually, today. Obviously, everybody knows I'm probably the biggest fan Ruben Loftus Cheek has ever had in his life. So, the fact that Tuchel spoke about that today or was asked about that today, I'm a big fan of. So we're going to discuss that a little bit. I don't actually know Con's thoughts on that. And you guys in the chat, I want you guys to get involved as well. I want to hear your thoughts on, whenever we do talk about it, about the whole Ruben situation, everything. What brings me onto the chat, if you're new here, please be sure to subscribe. That'd be massively appreciated. But on the road to 10,000 subscribers, we're getting very close at the moment. There was a good subscriber gain of the last few days. So we're under 500 subscribers away at this point. So the more of you that subscribe right now, the quicker we can get there. Whether you're watching this live right now or whether you're watching this when this has turned into a video, smash the like button, of course. And if you fancy it, do use the super chat function, supports the channel. And, make sure we do discuss your comments. With all of that said, I suppose we probably should start with the press conference before we get into the Ruben talk, just some other information. Obviously, Mateo Kovacic, still out, actually had a little bit of a setback with his injury, which is very frustrating. Tuchel said after training today, kind of felt his hamstring again a little bit, which puts him out of the game tomorrow when they were kind of thinking maybe he'd even be involved, but they were very sure he'd be fit for Real Madrid, and now that's in doubt as well. And to top things off, also Antonio Rüdiger apparently picked up a small injury at the end of the Real Madrid game and is out for tomorrow's game too. But at least the positive thing from that is that Thomas Tuchel seemed very confident that he should be back fit for the Real Madrid game on Wednesday. Aside from that, thankfully, we do not have any injuries, but we still don't have enough midfielders. So the big problem is still who on earth actually plays in midfield, isn't it?
Yeah, as always, Jorginho looks absolutely shattered. N'Golo, obviously, we know it's really risky playing him in games in short spaces of time. So, Laurenz, I'm not saying I hate the idea, but maybe a Billy G cameo tomorrow. Maybe we need that. So. Maybe Mount in the pivot with either like N'Golo or Jorginho, I don't know. But it has to be Gilmore, surely, because Mount's played a lot of games too. We've got limited options here. Unless he wants to put Emerson there.
Emerson, yeah, why not? Why not? Or Reece James, I suppose. But it's a tough one, really, because the weird thing is, and I want to touch on that as well from Tuchel's press conference, when asked about will Billy get minutes, Tuchel said, yeah, he might get minutes tomorrow, when the question actually wasn't aimed necessarily at tomorrow. But then he also discussed that Jorginho and Kante both looked super fresh and sharp in training today, and not almost, praised them individually, saying it almost seems like they're taking even more care of themselves or more care of their body and making sure they recover even quicker because they know Kovacic is out injured, so they need to play all the time. But Tuchel even said after the Real Madrid game that Jorginho looks absolutely tired and, he's struggling a little bit. And no wonder, bloody hell. I mean, he's been playing 90 minutes every single game for God knows how long. When was the last game Jorginho didn't start? I cannot even remember. Do you?
No, and another important point on that, Laurenz, is if you look at like the stats afterwards, he covers most ground most games. In Madrid, he was the one who covered the most ground. And he does that like a lot of the time, so I don't blame him for being shattered.
No, exactly. That's it. I mean, it's an interesting one. Mohammed put it here in the questions or in the chat saying, "Do you think we'll play a different formation?" I suppose it's an interesting shout. Really, personally, I doubt it because there's just no time to do different formations. And whenever we have used a different formation, it didn't exactly go that well. Like the second half against Barnsley was not very good at all. That was the only time we used it for a full half. And then we used it when Callum Hudson-Odoi came on against Brighton the other week. And that wasn't very good either. So, I'm not sure whether playing back four, like Lamin suggested here, will actually be so beneficial. What do you think?
I don't know, man. I don't know if playing a back four would be it because... yeah, I just don't see that being viable. Like you said, there's not enough time. Like, sure, we could play it, but these players are so comfortable playing in the system we are right now. From Madrid to Fulham, back to Madrid, changing systems, I'm not a fan of the idea, to be honest. Maybe it could do us a helpful rotation, but I'm not a fan of switching formations that quickly and then going back when we've got a massive game against Madrid. Really not a fan of the idea. What about you, Laurenz?
Yeah, first of all, that. And secondly, like Lutz just said, it doesn't actually solve a midfield problem.
Yeah.
Like, if anything, they would put an extra midfielder in there rather than taking one out, unless we play a 4-4-2. It doesn't actually help us much. I suppose, obviously, if in a 4-2-3-1, you still have the same pivot and play like Kai or something as a 10. Sure. But still, it's a difficult one. And Harry, we'll get to that point in a little bit. I just want to discuss a couple of other things because obviously we are taking Fulham, right? They're currently sitting 18th. They're in that relegation battle. They're missing, obviously, because it's against us and his parent club, what's his name? Good if I could think of it. Ruben Loftus Cheek, of course, is ineligible, like I said. But do you know what I mean? Bloody Fulham, they're 18th. I'm just looking at the table now, right? There's 7 points of safety, 7 points behind Brighton, and 9 points behind Newcastle and Southampton, who are in 15th and 16th, respectively. Also, 9 points behind Burnley, who are 14th. So I suppose they're not that far off in that sense, but they're fighting for everything they've got. So they're not exactly going to make it easy. I mean, it's unlikely for them to stay up at this point, I suppose. Maybe, obviously, with Brighton, but, we helped them, in that whole fight. It's ridiculous anyway. Like, if you look at the stats of Brighton this season, the fact that they're even anywhere near relegation battle is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, honestly. They're such a good team. They just cannot score to save their lives. It's almost worse than Werner. It's crazy. But Fulham, like, how do you feel? Because Fulham is always a weird one to me. Whenever we go away to them, it's always a struggle. But at home, we usually are quite comfortable against them. So do you think that will be the same tomorrow? Or do you think them being in such a, difficult relegation battle will play a significant role?
No, I think the latter, to be honest. Considering how fatigued this squad is as well. Like, I think first half we could be good, but second half it's going to be a real fight. And I think Fulham will make it that. What we need, which is something Chelsea haven't done all season, but to put the game to bed early, get 2 or 3 goals as quick as you can, and then you can sort of just sit back and not have to work the ball so much and just try to rest up, make a few changes within the game. But I don't think Fulham make it easy at all. Because if you've seen Fulham this season, they've had good games against Liverpool, City, us. Like, they've held the ground, so it's no pushover. Then after watching us play the likes of Brighton, Sheffield, it's not easy. It's never easy in the Premier League. It's why we love this league,
Yeah, 100%. That is why we love the league. And actually, I want to touch on something later on as well. Hopefully, I don't forget, but it's an interesting shout anyway that I read a couple of days ago. But yeah, I don't know. But we've also dropped points against teams that aren't really fighting for anything. Like, I don't know, Leeds or Southampton. They're not really in any I mean, maybe Southampton a little bit, but Leeds or also Southampton, they're not really fighting for anything drastic, but we still managed to drop points against them. So that's why I'm not sure whether them being in a relegation battle makes so much of a difference. I suppose they'll try harder, but I don't know. I just feel like it's more down to us just killing a game off than it is to anyone trying hard. Because if you leave the smaller teams alive for too long, any small team becomes a problem, whether they're fighting relegation or not. Doesn't really make a difference, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, Laurenz, do you think we suffer from a little bit of mentality when we play the big teams and we show up. So when we come against the smaller ones, I wouldn't say we feel like we deserve to win it, but I don't know, they're just not at it like they would be if they're playing a City or Madrid. Like they step off the gas a bit. They don't give it 100.
I mean, yes, I do think that. I mean, but I also think that's not a this season problem. That's not a right now problem. That's a problem that Chelsea has had for God knows how many years. Like we've had that. Even in Jose's spell, we had that at times. I mean, we dropped Jose's unbeaten record at home to bloody Sunderland. Not like against Man City or, Liverpool or Man United, Arsenal. No, against bloody Sunderland. Do you know what I mean? So, like, you can go as far back as that to make a case for that. And obviously, less so maybe in Conte's first season. Obviously, when we won the league, how are you going to struggle against really anybody if you finish the season on 91 points, right? So fair enough. But in the second season, we had the same problem with Sarri. We had the same problem with Frank last season. We had the same problem. So, yes, I do think that is a problem that we face at times. But the weird thing is that it's been many, many different players, but always the same problem. So I don't really understand where the problem comes from because none of the managers have seemed in a way that they were taking positions too lightly. None of them, whether it was Conte or Sarri or Frank or now Tuchel, none of them seemed like they were the types of people to take opponents lightly. So I don't really understand where the problem comes from. Like, I don't know I've not really thought about this much, but sometimes I feel like obviously these players get younger and younger and they're on social media more and more. And I feel like, I don't know, maybe that's just being told too much. We're expected to win. And no one has to make sure you win and like just expecting everybody to win. So they're taking it too lightly from every sense of the word. I don't know. Like, do you have an explanation for it? Because like I said, I have no idea, honestly.
No, I don't. And like you said, it goes back. Jose spoke on the mentality of these players. Conte did. Sarri did. They all said the same thing. Like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's hard to motivate these players.
This team.
And all of them have said that exact word about Chelsea. And they've had different groups of players as well. Like, there's a few who, like, all of them had, I think, Asby, probably the only one with Mourinho. Yeah, but with Conte and Sarri, you've got a few there. Yeah. So it's hard. It's like, is this club just... I don't know, Laurenz. My head's gone when it comes to that subject. I don't understand it. Because it's a problem we've had for so many years now. Just get motivated and win the game. Come on, man. I want a stat pad for once.
Yeah, it would be handy if we could just stat pad for once, honestly.
Yeah,
I mean, it's honestly a man. It's honestly a man. It's like I touched on at the very beginning of the stream already. Like Maud said, we should not feel less confident against Fulham than we do against Real Madrid. Like, we should not. But it's the case anyway.
It's a Chelsea thing. It's a Chelsea thing.
It really is a Chelsea thing. I don't know. But it's also a Chelsea thing to be very comfortable against Fulham at home usually. So let's hope that Chelsea thing prevails tomorrow, I suppose. I suppose you can look at it that way. Why not, before we get into some other topics towards the end and maybe the Ruben stuff as well, let's talk about a team that we should maybe feel tomorrow, because a lot of the stuff in the chat has been about that, aside from weird fake accounts, but the mods are doing their job. I know, just for us here on StreamYard, we can only see that right now. Anyway, Joy, the team. Obviously, we all presume, right, that Mendy will be in goal. We all presume, or I say we all, you and me, presume we're going to stick to the same formation. We know Rudiger's out. So how does that affect the back three? Who do you see starting in the back three?
Suma, 100%. He's definitely starting. I don't know whether I'd put Asby in that, to be honest, because he's looked tired, hasn't he? Andreas, then. Do we go with Silva?
That's the question, really. Like, do you go with Silva or do you go with Asby?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I know Asby looked tired, but because he's so much younger, I feel like he'd recover quicker.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And if he's playing in the right side of the centre-back, he won't have to do as much running, will he? So, yeah, probably Asby then. Asby, Christensen, Zuma.
Yeah, I'd say that as well. Although Zuma has done better as a central centre-back than he has as a wide centre-back, weirdly. Don't really know why, but that seemed to be the case. So let's hope that doesn't become a problem tomorrow. But yeah, I would agree probably with that. Just Thiago already some people were surprised that he played the last two in West Ham and Real Madrid. So let's not overdo it. Let's just, I think give him a rest tomorrow. Play Asby at right centre-back and hope he's all right, I suppose. I mean, excuse me, what other option do we have, really? Like, are we going to overplay the 36-year-old? Are we going to overplay... How old is Asby? He's 32 or 33? One of the two, isn't it?
I think he's 31, isn't he?
Is he? I've been doing him injustice all this time.
Wait, let me give you. Yeah.
He is 31. He turns 32
31.
in August. All right, Aspie, sort yourself out. Why are you looking so tired? You're only 31. What is this?
Only.
It's ridiculous. 31. Ronaldo's like 36. Plays every game. What is this? All right. I think quest debate over. Ask me at Rice and I'm honestly. But then we get to the wing backs, and that's an interesting one because people will make a case for Callum Hudson-Odoi right wing back, but also Reece James hasn't started either of the last 2 games. So, what do you do about that?
I don't know.
I mean, I suppose you could do that in theory, but I think that's chopping and changing the tad too much, considering we're playing Fulham, and we tend to struggle against these teams that we shouldn't be struggling against.
Yeah. I think we go with Reece James tomorrow, to be honest.
Yeah. That is fair. I mean, Jester seems very convinced to not start Zuma. Even if you think that Jester, it's going to happen. He will start. And obviously, Clutch makes a fair point. Yes, Ronaldo's in peak shape, but I would hope for us to be in peak shape. Do you know what I mean? But he doesn't have to sprint as much. That part obviously is true. That's why Aspie struggles less when he plays right centre back than when he plays right wing back. Obviously, I would probably go with the right wing back as well for Reece James. But I have like an interesting kind of shout to make in just a second. And we have a super chat here by Kyle. Appreciate it a lot. £5. Enjoying the content, lads. Appreciate it a lot, bro. But obviously a left wing back. Do we go with Alonso then? Presumably.
I hate hearing that name, man. Probably, yeah. We probably do.
So now, if you ask me what I would pick, I would say Emerson. But if we're going to kind of do a little bit of a mix of predicted 11 and what we'd like, it's going to be Alonso. Like, let's be honest. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree. It'll be Alonso.
Yeah, exactly that. And then I suppose we get to the midfield. And why it's interesting is because, we talk about Jorginho, we talk about Kante, we talk about Gilmour. In my opinion, Gilmour should play. I don't think Gilmour would struggle also drastically against Fulham, right? Obviously, he hasn't had a lot of game time, which will make him struggle more than if he would be playing all the time with the same ability, right? But if you really wanted to rest both, you could play Callum Hudson-Odoi at right wing back and Reece James in midfield. What do you think about that?
No, you could. He played in midfield at Wigan, sorry. So it makes sense. Would Tuchel take that chance?
No, he won't. I'm just saying, like, would you see it as a valid option?
No, yeah,
he wouldn't.
Yeah, 100% I would, yeah. I was impressed when he was at Wigan and he stepped into midfield. He looked very comfortable. I know it's not the same level, but
he did.
He can do a job there, and we need someone to play midfield, or our players are knackered or injured. To be honest, what I'm seeing is a Nagolo and Gilmour tomorrow, because I think Kovacic will be back from Madrid. Personally,
it's a tough one, really, because we just don't know if he'll be back. I suppose you can make the argument, just play Jorginho and Kante today, and then maybe he'll just play Kante and Kovacic after. But the problem is, that might work for Fulham and Madrid. Well, we've got bloody Man City on the weekend. So that's the big problem here. That's the big issue that we have. That we can't just say, let's force it through for tomorrow and Wednesday. We've got a much bigger, in terms of opponent, much bigger game than tomorrow next weekend. So it's a whole mare. I tell you that much. It's a whole mare. So I don't really know. I would... Because I think Mount needs a rest too, So that's why I would. And also Billy and Mount together is not a solid system that I'd like to go with, to be honest. Personally, I cannot decide. If you had to pick one midfield two for tomorrow, what would it be? If you can decide.
If I could decide, Gilmour and Nagolo. That's what I'd go with.
Okay. I suppose, Tuchel did say today that Kante feels and looks good, right? And doesn't look like he's close to any injuries or whatever. So I just don't know. Because I'm thinking also, if I think ahead to City, do you know what I mean? Who would I prefer against City? Presumably Kovacic, if he's back fit, Kovacic starts City, right? But does he start with Kante or does he start with Jorginho? And I suppose that kind of dictates who plays tomorrow, if that makes sense. I know it sounds weird to think 2 games ahead to make that decision, but I don't know.
But that's like the position we're in. Like every game now is a big game. Like Fulham, it's only Fulham, but we need top 4. We need to win that. Then we got Madrid. Then we got City. Like it's crazy. Like,
Then we've got Arsenal the midweek after that, don't we?
Oh my, you joking?
Pretty sure it's the Wednesday after that, yeah.
Oh my gosh, our schedule is crazy.
We're not making it out of the hood. The FA Cup final after that, I think.
Yeah. We're not making it out of the hood.
Honestly, it's crazy. Like, we play Fulham tomorrow. Tomorrow is obviously May 1st, right? And on May 5th, on Wednesday, we play against Real Madrid. May 8th, we play Man City. May 12th, so the Wednesday after that, we play Arsenal. And then the Saturday after that, we play Leicester in the FA Cup final. And the second, the league game against Leicester, which was now postponed because we're on this very same weekend playing Leicester in the FA Cup final, hasn't even been scheduled yet. So in the midweek after the FA Cup final, we'll play Leicester again, but in the league. And then on the last match day of the Premier League, we'll play Aston Villa away from home. So like, it's a whole mess. It's a whole mess. And then you hear like, obviously Super League was a bad idea, but the fact that the UEFA want to make more games in the Champions League from 2024 is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Have you not seen this schedule? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a crazy schedule, isn't it? Absolutely crazy. And I think it was it Gundogan who tweeted out about the new Champions League, saying like,
exactly,
is anyone thinking of us players? Because if you look at it now, it's crazy, isn't it? Imagine more games. Like everyone's going to have like a 25, 26 man squad. It's crazy, man.
It is. I mean, just obviously says, there's plenty of rest between those games. 3 days rest is good. That's true. Between Madrid and today and tomorrow, we have 3 days. Well, 2 full days, I suppose. And we have 2 full days between tomorrow, or is it? No, 3 full days rather, sorry. Between Fulham and Madrid. But, Jester, we only have 2 days between Real Madrid and Man City, right? That's where the problem starts to come in. And obviously, Man City is on a away game. Yeah, I know it's in England, but it's still a flight to Manchester. They're not going to take the coach now, are they? So, it's not that easy. Like, that's why I'm already thinking ahead to the City game, because that's where we only have 2 games. So that's why we need to see to make sure who we want against City, to make sure they're the freshest against City. Like, it's a whole mess. Like, you said Kante and Billy, didn't you?
Yeah.
I know it sounds weird, but I think I'd pick Billy and Jorginho because I think, as people know, I love Jorginho. He's been absolutely brilliant for weeks now. But I think we need Kante more against Madrid and against City than we need Jorginho. Although I'm not even sure if I actually think that. Do you know what I mean?
I get what you're saying.
He's closer to Kante than he is to Jorginho. So by that logic, maybe we need Kante, Jorginho more. I don't even know. It's such a whole mess. Why didn't we sign any midfielders?
I don't know. See, that was my logic behind it, because if, let's say, touch wood, either Jorginho or Kante, whoever plays tomorrow, did get injured, if Cover's back, you'd want him to replace the player he's more like, and that being N'Golo, wouldn't it? So that was my sort of thinking behind it. Ideally, I don't want any of them starting, but what other options do we have? We're literally stripped there, unless we want to put Kepa there or something. I don't know.
Would be probably quite good midfield, I reckon.
Yeah, he's a good passer, bro.
Exactly. I can reckon him having a proper go at someone in midfield. A good tackle. Why not? It's a whole mess, yeah. No, I go with you as well. I think Billy and Kante, just because Georgie has been overplayed too much, and I think he's probably, even with Kante's tendency to injuries, he's probably safer to play Jorginho, to play him, because Jorginho must be getting close to injuries as well. Like, it's impossible otherwise. Do you know what I mean? Cedric here with the super chat, appreciate it a lot as always, saying, did any more info come out about the Rudiger injury? As far as I'm aware, no. But obviously with the whole social media stuff today, maybe less injury is just coming out on social media, and I don't check all the websites, I won't lie to you. So have you heard anything, Con? But as far as I'm aware, he's just probably going to be back fit for Madrid, so nothing too serious.
Yeah, anything I've heard is that I've not seen anything more. Hopefully it's nothing more, touch wood.
Oh, is that it? Are we talking about this injury here? Remember late on when he went on this sprint and clattered into Odriozola? Is this the injury?
Wait, is that what happened? So it'll probably be like a dead leg or something, right?
No, because he was holding his face, because he kind of went. They were kind of like his cheekbone here went into Odriozola.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Went into his skull. But so is he really not playing because his cheek hurts a bit?
Can't he just put on one of those masks?
Yeah, I don't know if they work if you're just hurt and not broken. I don't know if it doesn't.
I don't know.
I don't know really. But no, I mean, just I said here, Mount and Kante, nah, bro. Mount, but give Mount a rest because Mount from tomorrow onwards needs to play every game until maybe Villa if we've got top 4 done by then. He needs to play every game until then. So Mount needs a rest once, and tomorrow is probably the best day to give him that rest. Fractured cheekbone, if it is, sure, and then I suppose he might play with the mask against Madrid. Because remember years ago, away at Palace, remember when Aspie picked up the fractured cheekbone? Could finish the game and then play with a mask for a few weeks after that.
Yeah, no, I remember that, yeah.
That was as well, because he got kicked in the face by, who was it? Was it Andros Townsend or something?
I think
kicked
so.
Right in the face anyway. Like, honestly, it was a bit of a mess. I suppose that's our midfield, but none of us are very sure tomorrow. And Krishna... Well, us two doubt that Kepa's going to play. Why would he? He's already had 2 games the other week, so he's not going to get more now. Also, like, as much as I love Kepa, and I actually do more than a lot of people, and I was happy to see him play and get minutes and get clean sheets, if Mendy doesn't win the Golden Glove for 2 clean sheets or less because he didn't play Newcastle and Brighton, I'll be fuming.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I'll be absolutely fuming with Tuchel for that because I think it's sick to get a golden. Like Courtois never did win it, right? Did he? Or did he win it once?
No, yeah, he won it once, yeah.
Oh yeah, when we won it with Jose, didn't he? But
yeah.
not with Conte. Yeah, that was it. So still, it's been a while. I mean, that was the 14-15 season. Like, it's been a while. Let's get a Golden Glove back to the Bridge. Why not? So like it's one of those. But I suppose the next we get to the front 3. One guy I'm very certain will start and should start is Hakim Ziyech.
Yeah, I agree.
Other than that, I'm not very sure. Because, like, I almost in my head have a little bit of the logic. It's like, well, if we play Werner tomorrow, then it's less likely to play against Madrid.
Yeah. I think Werner starts against Madrid, to be honest.
I think so as well. I think it will be some similar idea, similar structure, similar tactics, I suppose, in terms of... But the question is, well, I suppose Madrid need the goal more than we do, so they might play a high line, but they learned in the game against us. Obviously, we got more tired, sure, but they kind of learned in the game against us in the second half that they just need to sit a bit deeper, and then the whole Werner threat is kind of gone. Which is, I thought was funny, like Melchior, what's his first name? Do you know who said, Werner was so brilliant and that's why Madrid couldn't deal with us and couldn't press because of Werner's pace? I'm like, so what happened second half then? So, like, what? Werner was still playing until the 66th minute and we did absolutely nothing in the second first half. I mean, Jester seems very convinced on Pulisic playing. Do you really want your countryman to get injured again? So I don't. I mean, come bring him off the bench, sure. But anyways, let's stick to Fulham for the moment. Yeah, you agree on Ziyech, I presume.
Yeah.
But what about the other 2? I would love to see Tammy get a start. I would love it. But
I'd love Tammy to get a start, yeah. I think, what's the worst that can happen, you know? Like, what's the worst that can happen if you start Tammy? Maybe we even see Giroud, you know, I don't know. Because he hasn't been getting minutes either, has he, lately?
No. It's a tough one, really, because if we're going to presume both are leaving, I suppose it's better to give Tammy minutes so maybe he can increase his value, other than Giroud, whose contract's running out, where it doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, spot on.
From that side of the things. And then I suppose it's the left, number 10, left wing, or whatever you want to call it. Well, I mean, I would love Callum there if we presume that Reece James plays right wing back. Yeah. So if it's my pick, that's what I personally do. But I also know that that's a lot of changes. And, like, how would Giroud, Callum and Ziyech out of nowhere have a chemistry? Like, where would that have come from? So, actually, I forget. We forgot about Kai Havertz. Now, Kai should start up top.
Yeah, no, that's who I was going to go with, Kai. I'd like to see Tammy's now, but I was going to go with Kai. Kai, Ziyech and Cho.
I agree, yeah. That should be our front 3. I agree with that.
Do you think it will be, though?
I think Kai and Ziyech will start, yes. But I think Werner will start left wing.
Werner will put it, I think. One of them will play, I feel.
Do you think you're going to play Pulisic again? I think Pulisic, he's been careful with his injuries and stuff, so I think he's not going to risk that one. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, true. To be honest, what he probably might do is put Mount on the left. He needs a rest, but I still see him starting. Guy's an engine, isn't he?
True. True. Yeah, all of that is possible. I mean, see, if Reece just started at least West Ham at right wing back, then I would actually play Callum right wing back tomorrow because to penetrate Fulham maximum, right? But because Reece hasn't played the last 2 games, Reece has to start, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Even though in terms of if we're thinking about, how do we best beat Fulham, Callum at right wing back is probably more useful than Reece, in all honesty. So if we're going to take the let's be nice to our players hat off, I would actually probably pick Callum at right wing back.
Yeah.
But that all depends on who starts left wing. So, if we're going to rotate a lot, put Callum there, Reece there, like Callum left wing, Reece right wing back. But it's a tough one, really. I hate it. It's almost like a cup game, really. For these cup games, I'm saying I have no idea what's going to happen.
It's too cool. If this was Maurizio Sarri or Antonio Conte, you'd probably be able to guess the lineup. But with Tuchel, you just don't know what he's going to do. He could put Alonso in the pivot. You never know. Do you know what I mean?
Not that one, but
I have a horrible feeling I'm going to see that.
Oh my god! Just a horror film flashed before my eyes, bro.
I could see it happening one day, though. Definitely.
Exactly. Not big up Jesse Marsch. I mean, I have no actual problem with Jesse Marsch. He seems like a nice guy. It's very funny when he speaks German with his his super strong American accent. It's very funny, but because he's actually good at German, but he hasn't gotten rid of his American accent. That's super funny. Anyway, not that anyone other than me will have heard this, but regardless, right? Let's move on. That's our team that we would maybe pick or whatever you want to call that. Let's talk about Ruben Loftus Cheek. Before we get in, Emerson started left centre back, bro, but regardless. Let's talk about Ruben Loftus Cheek. Before we get into what Tuchel said and, my thoughts and blah, 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 I want to actually hear what you think about Ruben. Regardless of what Tuchel said today, do you think he has any hope left? What did you make of him? Do you rate him as highly as me? Are you one of those people that say, he's, never going to happen? Or, where do you stand on him?
With Ruben, bro, I think he was one of the first youth players I really, really watched. So I think I share the same sort of views as you. I love Ruben. I always will. I've enjoyed him for years. Really impressed me at Palace. Really impressed me under Sarri as well. And then at friendly, that friendly at that time is so stupid. I don't mind playing friendlies, but why before a Europa League final for one, and two, Loftus Cheek hasn't been the same since that injury. Sucks. Yeah, I will never say I've given up on Loftus Cheek. Not because I genuinely believe it. It's just I don't think I could ever say that. I love the guy too much. He was like that first youngster that really came through that I was in love with.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's exactly the same sentiment. I remember first time watching Ruben, he was 16 and playing for the under 18s, and I was watching on the Chelsea website. And I was like, him. I like him. Do you know what I mean? And then he made it to the first team, playing with the 36, scoring in that Champions League game against, what was it, Maribor or something like that? With the white, yellow kids. I think it was Maribor. And that, knee slide celebration. I was kicking off in my old, parents' house bedroom. It was a great time. Great, fantastic time. Honestly, I love Ruben. And then I met him when Chelsea had pre-season ahead of Conte's first season. And, still, love that picture today. And I got a tweet 3-4 times a season. I tweeted this season already. As long as he doesn't give up, I won't either. I'm not giving up on Ruben until he retires. Until he retires, I'm not giving up on Ruben. Okay, maybe until we sell him. But in terms of his career at Chelsea, giving up. But what Tuchel said today, basically, to inform guys that haven't heard it, and Tyrone, of course, you're 100% right. I kind of slightly lied a little bit in the title. I do apologize. But the title, there's not enough characters to use to actually explain what he actually said. So, you're going to have to live with that. So what he actually said is, which I was a big fan of, Tuchel is like Connor myself, was a big fan of Ruben already when he was in the younger days, playing for the academy, which is just a typical Tuchel thing. I mean, we know that Tuchel was kind of almost applying for the Chelsea manager's job in 2017 when Conte got it. Was it when Conte got it? But Conte got it in 2016. So why are we talking about 2017? But everyone was talking about 2017. Maybe. What year was that? That we were last considering Tuchel. Was that 2017? But why 2017? That's why we won the league with Tuchel, with Conte.
Yeah, it's not then. Surely not. I think it was when we got Maurizio Sarri, wasn't it? So it'd be
Maybe it was then. Maybe it was then 2018. And maybe the whole discussions already took place late 2017. I don't know. But regardless, what Tuchel said is, and it was always said that he already knew about all the academy and that's how he tried to win over Chelsea to get the job, blah, 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 right? But he clearly knows Ruben. He compared him to Michael Ballack, as all the Chelsea fans did. That's how the song goes, Lewis and Ballack and that. One of my favorite songs ever. That away, obviously, you might not know, but I was at the away game in the Europa League semi-final in Frankfurt. Obviously, Ruben ended up scoring, but all night before, like the day before the game, all night, all day off the match day, like we was all just singing the Ruben song. Like it was the greatest thing ever. And it's so sad, like he's been alone and shit. Depressing times, right? Depressing times. But basically what Tuchel said is he likes him a lot, rates him a lot. He knows that he's doing a pretty decent job at Fulham, but it's, he's definitely not saying, he has no chance, but he also didn't say, he's definitely coming back to Chelsea next season. But he basically said, he's going to be here for pre-season and then I'm going to make a judgment, basically. Because he said it would be unfair if I judge him on TV or whatever. So Ruben is going to be here in pre-season. And with that in mind, probably the best thing that could happen to Ruben is that he's obviously not going to the Euro. So he'll have full pre-season to hopefully impress Tuchel. So, hopefully that can happen. My only worry is, if we don't change formation, there's no chance Ruben is in our squad. Like, he's not a 6 and he's not that high up 10 to me. Like, to really use Ruben, we need an 8 for me. Or a 10, sure, but a 10 we have Kai, we have Mount, we have Hakim Ziyech in theory, so we need an 8. We need to start 1, if not 2 8s to really make any use of Ruben Loftus Cheek, right?
No, I agree. I think Ruben's best position is an 8. But this is a mad idea, but it was going around when Ruben was here about him being in a pivot. It could be an option there. I'm not saying that's something I really want to see, but it could be an option.
100% could be an option, but it wouldn't be a starting option.
No, it wouldn't be a starting option, but to have someone like Ruben around where you could play him as an 8 if we go to a 4. You could play him as one of the 10s, because for Palace, I think he used to play out wide, didn't he? So he'd be kind of used to that. And I think he's just a player who can play in quite a few positions, even up front at times, We've seen him play striker, so it'd be nice to keep him.
Arguably better suited to it than Kai. I mean, Kai might have the instinct a tad more, but certainly not the physical presence to do exactly that in the Premier League. Although poor Ruben's back. If you put him at striker and, have him hold up the ball, the amount of attackers that will ram knee first and elbow first into his poor back, maybe not a good idea either.
Yeah, and I'm a massive fan of Tuchel when he said I'm not going to judge him from a distance, and he said he liked him when he was younger. When I heard that, I was like, yes, because I think Ruben's got it in him to impress Tuchel, and Tuchel knows a player when he sees one, and I think Tuchel knows what to do with players as well. We've seen him get the best out of Werner besides finishing. I know Werner's being a bit. I think that's the best explanation when it comes to finishing, but his overall game's been played under Tuchel. Kai as well. The finishing's not quite there yet, but his overall game's improved. Even Mount's going to levels we haven't really seen before. Pulisic's getting back on form, so he knows how to what to do with attacking players. So yeah, I'd be really excited for that link up, because I think we'd see the best Ruben Loftus Cheek we've seen in ages if Tuchel gets his hands on him.
Well, that we've seen in ages isn't really saying much, let's be honest. But
yeah,
because you struggle with that. I mean, Melinda's made an interesting comment here. For us, you and me, the way we love Ruben, not what we really hope for, but better than nothing, I suppose. And if you're talking about we kind of who plays tomorrow, we'd love to have another midfielder. Just think back to a few weeks ago before Copper was injured, and there was these others out there saying, Billy should have gotten loaned out. He's never getting any minutes. I'm like, yeah, because we don't have any injuries. Okay, to be fair, he's not gotten any minutes since Copper got injured. But it's just because he got the injury at the wrong time, where we have too many big games to just keep throwing Gilmore in. But in general, if you play 2 midfielders and sometimes 3, because half of them sometimes play as a 10, then you need more than 4 centre mids. It's ridiculous to only have 4 centre mids, especially when 2 of them, maybe Cobb a little bit, but especially Kante's super injury prone. If they're all never injured, sure, then 4 is maybe fine. But if, and one's 18 or 19 of what Billy is now, I take Ruben as a midfield option. Obviously, Jester said he will change to a 4-2-2-2. He's played that at PSG and at Dortmund. He did at times. He didn't every game. His main formation at PSG was actually a 4-3-3. I'll have you know, Jester, I did actually do that research when we got Thomas Tuchel, so I know that for a fact. His main formation was a 4-3-3, with Marquinhos as a DM, with Kimpembe and Thiago Silva as the two centre backs, and then obviously less so this season, but before. And then as a midfielder, is usually Verratti, and one of the other ones. Half the time, Di Maria played as an 8, Draxler as an 8, whatever. And then this season, it was a kind of like Verratti played the lowest position and then dropped in as the third centre back, and then the other two did their thing. Like, it's a tough one, but it might be a 4-2-2-2. What I think Tuchel is going to do next season is not like this season, because people have forgotten about this already. Think back 3 months, and when we actually signed Tuchel, every game, all of us YouTube and Twitter content creators, if you want to call it that, we were like, yeah, Tuchel will change formations to this and to this and to this. He's used 6 different formations in the same game when he was at Mainz, bloody hell. Like, once he has an actual pre-season, he will start using more different formations on a regular basis. He won't keep having the same formation like he is with us at the moment. Once he has a pre-season, I can teach them various different formations that can all work depending on type of opponent, who's fit, who's available, blah, blah, blah. We will use various different formations. We will probably use 4-2-2. We will use 4-3-3. I'm sure we will use 3-4-2-1 at times as well. But do you have an inkling, or what do you think will be our main formation next year, Con?
With Tuchel, we just don't know, do you? Because he's played 4-2-2. Like you said, he played the 4-3-3. At Dortmund, he played the 3 at the back. He played the 4-3-3. So, like, you never know with Tuchel. And with the squad we've got, it's probably most suited to a 3-back. Like, it's what we perform in. Obviously, he's come in and done what any good manager does with a team that's struggling, is make sure you're solid defensively again. It's like the first thing relegation, like, managers, when they come in to a side like against relegation, and make sure the defence is up to like scratch. That's what Tuchel's done with us. So yeah, I see us going to a back 4 next season. But Laurenz, look, if we do though, the issue I have is, like, as good as Christensen and Rudiger's been, right? Besides Thiago Silva, I don't trust any of them in the back 4. I don't think we have the players to just switch like that to a back 4 unless we make like 2 or 3 signings at least.
Well, I mean, at least all the reports do suggest that we're going to sign at least one centre-back. Who that's going to be, God knows. Obviously, Varane wouldn't mind it, but he's probably the only one where I'd be like, wouldn't mind it. All the other ones, I'm like, don't really need them, to be honest.
Sula, let's go. I can't be asked.
Yeah, honestly, like, the man's half the play since he tore his ACL. Like, poor him and that, all good. But still, I'm like, is Sula any better than Rudiger? No. Is Sula any better than Christensen? No. Is he bigger than them? Sure. But that's about it. Like,
the crazy thing about that, Laurenz, as well, like, they're getting rid of, like, Alaba. He's going to Madrid, isn't he? Boateng's future's in the air, and they still are open to selling Sula. Like, that's warning signs. Like, come on.
First of all, warning signs, and secondly, like, also, what are Bayern doing? Like, they're off their heads. What are they doing? Like, they already paid like 80 million to bloody Leipzig for getting their manager and their best centre back. Like, yeah. Bayern Munich don't spend 100+ million in one summer. They cannot afford that. Like, people, they're obviously this big club, but because they don't have these type of owners like the Premier League has, that's why they only ever make one signing. That's why they wanted Kai this summer, because they couldn't afford Sane and Kai. That's exactly why this happened. But, you know, that's a whole different debate. But yeah, for me, Varane is the only centre-back option. I'm like, yeah, go on then. Even though I don't actually rate Varane crazy high, but I'm like, I could be wrong on him. And I could be surprised and impressed by him. All the other ones, I'm like, it's like, what is that? Sule? Absolutely not. I mean, Konate now seems to be going Liverpool anyway, but like, and then who else is there? The only one that would obviously break that is Marquinhos, but we're not getting it. Yeah, I mean, if Thiago Silva can put a good word in and we get Marquinhos, obviously for everyone else out in the bin, that's who I want, right? But it's probably not going to happen. We had a question here earlier. Like, I want to go back to it quickly. Well, actually, let me go to that first. Jester said Werner doesn't fit a 4-3-3. Yeah, that's why I would love to include Werner in a deal with Erling Haaland, but you know that doesn't seem to be happening. But you know, Farcard has put a lot of like players in here, thinking we're talking about all the loanies. What about Conor Gallagher? Yeah, he's not going to be in the squad next season. Do you disagree?
I like Conor Gallagher, to be honest.
I do too.
He's played in the pivot and he's played as an 8 this season. It's been really good. Yeah. I remember when I did a pod episode with Scouted Football, like they watch a lot of the young talents, And they told me like that he could make a good 6, like a really good 6. So maybe he could be kept around for squad like Billy has this season. I don't know. Like if we want to spend big on a centre back and a striker, we keep a Conor Gallagher for just rotation purposes. Wouldn't be the worst idea, I don't think.
I suppose it would probably then be a decision of between Connor and Ruben, you'd presume.
Yeah.
Because probably, it's unlikely to be both. Unless Billy goes out on loan, then it might be both.
I agree.
But that again all depends, do we sign a midfielder and what type of midfielder do we sign? It's a tough one. Obviously, Trevor Chalobah, personally don't think he has a career at Chelsea. He's doing really well in France, obviously. But, yeah, I mean, he's the worst of the Chalobah brothers, and even Nate didn't make it, so, you know. And Ampadu, it's a tough one, Ampadu is, because he's played a lot, which is very different to his Leipzig loan last year. But he's also got relegated. Even though he was their best player half the time, he still got relegated. So it's like, and also he played centre-back. So unless we stick to a back three, which I don't expect us to do, I'm like, well, like he's played a full season at centre-back. I know he had like the odd game as a midfielder, but he's pretty much played an entire season as centre-back in a back three. So unless we stick to that formation, I don't really see Ampadu in the squad, to be honest. But what do you think?
I agree with that, because it's not just that. You got to think, if Milan don't take up the option to buy on Tomori, he'll be back. We'll have Guy back. We'll have Sarr back. We'll have Ampadu back. This is for centre-backs. I don't see him playing in midfield for us, to be honest. So I think he'll just be a victim of circumstance. I like Ampadu, but there's just way too many loanee centre-backs coming back, you know? And I don't think he's better than Tomori or Guy, to be honest.
I mean, we don't know about Tomori, whether he's going to stay at Milan. Obviously, a few months ago, they were in the title race. Now they're in the top 4 race and looking to bottle that too. So if they don't make Champions League, I cannot possibly see how AC Milan can afford 30 million for Tomori, personally.
No, I agree.
So there's a good chance he comes back. If they make Champions League, there's a good chance he stays, I think. Obviously, we have him alongside on loan at Porto. Played quite a bit at the start of the season. I think Pepe might have been injured at the time. But since, Pepe's been back, and obviously Mbemba, unless they play a back three, which they do every now and again, he doesn't really play. But I've said this from day one. I always thought we signed him just to make money and fair dues, because he was a free agent from Nice, and, why not? We literally signed him for free, and we're probably going to be able to sell him for 30, 40 million if he has another good loan, right? So business-wise, brilliant. And then Mark Way, as much as he's been absolutely incredible for Swansea in the Championship, and I also won't lie, I haven't watched every game, but from people that, pay attention to the youth players and know their football from my opinion-wise, right, they all tell me that he's been brilliant. And every now and again when I've seen it, he's been brilliant, right? But is it smart to take him straight from Swansea to the Premier League to Chelsea? I mean, to the Premier League, yes, but to Chelsea, I don't know. Do you see what I mean? Yeah,
no, I agree. Like, I've watched Guy a little bit. Our good friend Alex Goldberg always goes on about him, so I thought I'd watch him. I watched him in under 21s, I think it was, and I wasn't convinced. I can't lie. Still very error prone, and he's a bit raw. You can tell he's got talent, but
great. Okay,
yeah, and he's a bit raw, in my opinion. He's a bit.
How old is he anyway? Let me Google that. Mark, most difficult name to spell ever. He is 20, to be fair. I mean, he turns 21 in July, but he's still very young.
I think he's got all the attributes and he's got the talent. I just think he needs that one loan in the Premier League before Chelsea, to be honest.
Yeah, and then obviously The Undertaker, big up The Undertaker, has asked, what about Mbuyamba? Obviously the young Dutch centre-back that we signed last season from the Barcelona Academy. And then did I'm not sure whether it was ACL, I think it was his meniscus that he did, literally in his first training session, which I'm like, can you get any more unlucky? He's now returned, plays for the development squad and has got a goal and has played most games and stuff. So he's doing well, but I don't think we can yet consider him as a serious option for the first team. Maybe he'll get another season with the development squad and train with the first team a few times next season, or he already gets a loan next season. We'll have to wait and see, but he's definitely not a first team option for next year, right?
No, yeah, I agree with that completely.
100%. I mean, I'm not even going to try to pronounce your name. I do apologize, because I'm just going to butcher it and offend you. So I'm just going to read out the comment saying, Ross will fit very well under Tuchel. Ross, as my girlfriend loves to say, is a horseman, because Ross is kind of like how, in the kind of German dialect, horses are called, so horsemen anyway. No. He had a great start at Villa, and now he's not barely even playing for Villa. And when he does, he's shit. So, no. Barkley's not coming back. I'm not even like having this argument. Ruben against Ross. Like, what are you talking about? And then even Conor Gallagher against Barkley. I'm like, yeah, Gallagher, obviously. Like, I don't actually hate Ross Barkley. Whenever he plays for us, he did piss me off at times because he just doesn't have a footballing brain in my head. Because he just has all the attributes to be absolutely amazing, but he just isn't. And that's like super disappointing.
Yeah, he gives me William vibes. Like, there's some games he looks really good, but then there's too many games where he's just poor, and he's so inconsistent. Ross wasted.
Yeah.
He could have been a hell of a player, but yeah.
Obviously, as a Chelsea fan, it's maybe a slightly controversial opinion, but he should have never come to us from Everton. Like, he should, like, for his own career's sake, he should have stayed at Everton for a while longer. Maybe a year or two after, he would have developed that tad more to really make it at a top club. But he would be a huge player for Everton right now. I mean, if he just stayed, look at what they're doing with Ancelotti. Like, do you know what I mean? He would have been a brilliant player for them, I reckon.
I reckon he still gets benched, though, to be honest.
Yeah, now he would, but he wouldn't if he stayed, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's true.
I mean, Hammers is a weird one anyway. Would they actually use him as a 10? Would they even bought him? Like, depending on how Ross is, it's a tough one anyway. But E-Rock, whatever happened to fucking Kubo, it didn't actually always get injured on loan, but he had this awful knee injury. Actually returned after, like, what was it, 18 months, 2 years, whatever. Finally returned to play. Love the guy, but never going to play for Chelsea again, sadly. And now we're going to, let's discuss this, why not? Laurenz, and obviously the question also goes to you, Con. Are you a yes or a no to Romelu Lukaku? Because there's been a lot of reports floating about the last few days, I suppose, maybe week, where it's like, the one report said, oh no, we've kind of given up on Haaland and we're now going for Lukaku. Then Fabrizio Romano replied to someone on his own Insta post saying Lukaku wants to stay at Inter. But then also all the reports say some reports have said we're going to offer like 100 million for Lukaku. And I'm like, well, it all depends. Basically, to answer your question, Jester, it all depends on the price. Because if Lukaku is going to cost 100 million, then no, go for Haaland. Because then you're only paying 30 more and you're getting Haaland. If that, right, we might get Haaland's price down depending on whether, Dortmund make the Champions League qualification or not. So if Lukaku is that much, absolutely not. If he's like 50 million less than Haaland, then maybe I'd consider it, depending on wage demands as well. And, we obviously heard the Haaland one. So then maybe it's something to consider. But, do you know what I mean? But what do you make of that, Con?
Yeah, I think that logic makes sense. If you can get Haaland for 130 million, I don't know why you'd get Lukaku for 100, Not over 30 million. As good as Lukaku is as well, he's in his prime, he's fantastic to watch. But there's been reports that he doesn't even want to leave Inter. Like, you got to understand he loves Conte and he loves playing in Serie A. So as good as the Premier League is, he might not even want to come to Chelsea. So we've got to get that out of our heads that if we put the money, he just comes because he loves Chelsea. Like, I don't think that's the case at all. I think there's a lot more to it. And I don't know what it is about Haaland, but I'm seeing so much disrespect to him lately. Like, getting called overrated and stuff like that. I don't know where this has come from, to be honest.
Yeah, it's always a bit of a shambles. Like, I saw Lewis the other day saying, a guy that can't break down low blocks. I'm like, bro, have you watched him play?
I don't understand it. He's only 20, isn't he, Haaland, as well? Exactly.
He's 20 years old. He's 2 years younger than Mason bloody Mount. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and he's this good, and people call him overrated. Like, come on, man. This is the problem with football sometimes, man. It's honestly the problem. Like, he's 20 years old, ripping stuff up. Like, I think second highest scorer in the Champions League this season.
Bro, he's got over 40 Champions League goals in like 3 seasons.
Yeah. Is
it 2 seasons? Has he even played 3 seasons in the Champions League? No, it's 40 games in the Champions League, but 25 goals or something stupid.
He's ridiculous, man. Like, if you can get him even for 150 million, I'm doing it. Like, you've got to do it, right? It's not our money.
Thing I will say, the wage demands can't be too crazy.
I think your theory on that was spot on, to be honest. Like, Raiola definitely knew about that Super League stuff. Come on, it's Raiola. He knows everything.
Yeah, I still think I could have a good chance with it. Obviously, the Lukaku one, just to get back to that quickly, because you made a fair point. What if he doesn't want to leave? But Inter also broke as hell. And even if they win the league, it's not enough money to do anything. Even Champions League qualification. So they might be like, well, who's the guy we can get the most money from? And we have Lautaro Martinez anyway, who will sign a new contract according to his own statement. So unless City really go for Martinez somehow, which they might do, you never know. I think Lukaku can be persuaded to join us, And Inter can definitely be persuaded to sell Lukaku. Obviously, I mean, just I said, the reports were 90 million. I think it was 100 million euros, 90 million pounds. Was it maybe that? I don't know. It's a difficult one.
Yeah,
And
but
then,
Inter have assets though. They have Hakimi and Barella though.
Sure, but they're not going to make as much money as Lukaku. And would you prefer to sell one player for a lot of money or a few players for a little bit less? Because then you need to sign more replacements.
Yeah, that's true, I suppose. And like you said, there is Lautaro still there, so
yeah, it's a tough one. Yeah, they might get Tammy. You never know.
Put Tammy.
There's been reports that AC Milan want Tammy.
It's hard. They got Tomori now. They want Tammy Lakoven.
Like the weird thing is, AC Milan, they want like every striker in the world. I feel like they currently have Ibrahimovic and Mandzukic and Rebic, who they turned into a left winger, who was kind of a striker for Frankfurt. So now he plays left wing for them. And then they're also interested in some other striker this time. I forgot who it was. And then the rumor about Tammy came out. I suppose maybe it's that other guy or Tammy rather than both. But still, it's a bit of a madness if you ask me.
What happened to them Frankfurt strikers though? If you look at it, Haller, Rebic, and Jovic. Like, do you remember everyone was sort of calling for these guys, and all of them just have done like nothing really since leaving?
Yeah, honestly. And I mean, Jovic is now playing second fiddle striker to Andre Silva at Frankfurt.
Yeah, crazy, isn't it?
I mean, still playing well. Don't get me wrong; he's still actually doing well for Frankfurt now, but still not getting the glory that Andre Silva is. But people have said, "Why don't we get Andre Silva?" Yeah, because he's another one of those that is a very good player, but it would take way too long to go to work from the Bundesliga to the Premier League. Like, he already took a while to get going in the Bundesliga, and it never really worked for AC Milan where he was before Frankfurt, because it was a little bit of a swap there, I think, with Rebic and Andre Silva, if I remember correctly. Obviously, plus money involved, but still. Where was he before? Was he at Benfica? Was he at Sporting? One of them lot. Anyway, he did good there. Never really properly got going in Serie A. Only in his second season started to really kick off in the Bundesliga. We cannot afford to do waffle like that again. Like, Haaland is the only Bundesliga striker I will and Lewandowski, but Haaland is the only Bundesliga striker I'm entertaining. Basically, that's what I'm saying. But to get to this comment by Mohammed here, there was also some news about getting Kane, and you can agree or disagree with me in a second, Con. But for me, Chelsea fans need to just get this out of their head. We are not getting Harry Kane. Remember when we tried to sign Luka Modric? Yeah, exactly. And that's Harry Kane, so 10 times more. We're not getting Harry Kane. And if we are, Daniel Levy is going to ask us to pay like £1 billion. Like, it's not going to happen.
No, you're spot on there. Like, as soon as Kane's name comes out, the first thing I think of it is Modric. And Modric wanted to join us as well. I don't even know if Kane would want to, He's a Tottenham boy. He supports the club. Why would he want to go to Chelsea? I could see him go to City, to be honest. But not Chelsea, man. I don't think he would leave to join Chelsea, and I think some fans have got their head in their ass there. Like, Kane's not happening. Not happening. No, exactly. So I think we've got a better signing chance than Mbappe, to be honest.
Probably, to be honest. I mean, the Kane City one is an interesting debate anyway, because apparently he was one of the players that Pep wanted a few years ago, or whenever he signed his new contract. But then I just also don't see how Pep wants a Kane-type striker. Like, I don't see it. I suppose Kane is probably not too dissimilar from Lewandowski. And obviously he started him every game at Bayern, I suppose. But with what he's used at City, and City have a lot of money. If he really wanted a different type striker to Aguero or Gabriel Jesus, they could have signed that for the last 4 years. But they never did. So... And now he has Aguero, he's on the bench all the time. He has Gabriel Jesus, and he chooses not to play any striker. So will they even sign any striker, or wouldn't it make way more sense for their idea of football to sign João Felix from Atletico Madrid, who are desperate for money anyway? Do you know what I mean?
Oh, the João Felix is a good one, to be fair, yeah. Yeah, that would make a lot of sense.
Exactly, it's a tough one. Iheanacho, even though you misspelt it, why would he leave Leicester right now, honestly? He wouldn't. So
I need Acho. Love that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not too. I think, is he only missing one H? I don't know.
I think so. I can't spell it myself, so I don't know why I'm talking right now.
Goal South. Wait, did Southampton go 1-0 up against Leicester already? They only started 2 minutes ago. Is this true? If this is a lie, be ashamed of yourself. Are we still linked with Dybala? Well, I bloody hope not. Like, I actually like Dybala, rate him highly, but think about our current squad: Havertz, Ziyech, Werner. Like, Mount, who plays in this attacking position, Callum Hudson-Odoi. We have all players that are basically Dybala. We have too many of the same type of player already. So let's not sign another one, for goodness sake. We're already struggling to put all of them in the squad.
Unless the club sells, which I don't see any of them players going, to be honest. Maybe Ziyech, but
I reckon we'd need to sell 2 to make that happen, because we already have the problem now. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I agree.
And I think we just have too many other priorities to ever go for Dybala this summer. Like if we had, say if Werner clicked and he was banging in goals, or if Tammy was banging in goals or whatever, and we wouldn't be looking for an out-and-out striker and a centre-back and a DM too, then maybe we would consider someone like Dybala. But because we have options, well, it's much more urgent for us to sign a player. That's why I very much doubt we're going to go for Dybala, if that makes sense.
Lewis, a bit of a odd striker to go for, but what's your thoughts on Calvert-Lewin?
Don't know, is he better than Tammy?
I think Calvert-Lewin's better than Tammy, to be fair.
He's better in the air, that's true. But aside from that, I don't know. Like, I'm not saying Calvert-Lewin is bad by any means, but I also don't think Tammy is bad. So, but obviously, I know you asked me that now, but you don't see it as a serious option, do you?
I've seen it going around. Like United fans, some of them are extremely happy to take a Calvert-Lewin. So I was just curious.
Wait, which ones?
Just some United fans I've been saying.
Yeah, but United have Martial. They take anything.
We have Werner, bro. Come on.
Don't tell anyone.
So, what about a 60 mil deal for Calvert-Lewin? Would you take it?
60 mil? No, sorry. Maybe I underrate him a little bit, but I feel like that would just be another Tammy situation all over again. He'd have a good season, and then some manager would decide, he's not what we actually want, and then he'd be on the bench. It's what just got it written all over it for me, personally. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So what other striker? If we can't get a Haaland or Lukaku, who are you going for?
You're asking the tough questions here. Bloody hell. What I'm going, if that happens, I'm going for playing Havertz there regularly and keeping Tammy. That's what I'm going for if we can't. Because I've had enough of Chelsea not getting main targets and then buying second-hand crap players. I can't be bothered with that anymore. We've done it with Zappacosta. We've done it with Danny Drinkwater. We've done it with Ross Barkley. We've done it with all these lot. I've had enough. I've absolutely had enough. And if you want to bring Aguero in for Giroud, who's going to leave, fine. Do that then. But don't sign just any striker for the sake of it. Excuse me.
I get that. So you'd only want the striker if it's like an elite striker, like a Lukaku or Haaland.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously there are a few names that you could throw in there, which I obviously take. Kane, Lewandowski, obviously. But if you have to think of them as somewhat realistic, there is no one else out there. You could say Lukaku isn't even realistic if Inter don't want to sell him. Even if they're broke, they can still say they don't want to sell Lukaku. And if what Fabrizio Romano says, and usually what Fabrizio Romano says is true, and Lukaku doesn't actually want to leave Inter, then, well, he's kind of as unrealistic as, I don't know, anyone else is really. But obviously there's a few players that I take. But in terms of players being realistic, sure, Andre Silva from Frankfurt, he's realistic, but for the reasons I've given, don't really want that. Belotti is another one. I mean, first of all, he's a bit of a pen merchant, I will say that. He's a good player, but he's just not I'm not sure if people have watched Belotti a lot, but he's a bulldog type striker. He's not very tall. He's, I think, under 6 foot. But he's not technically super gifted. He's like a slower Timo Werner, but much better finishing, obviously. He finishes everything. But it's, Choupo-Moting, why not?
So, sorry, Lawrence. So if we don't buy a striker with that big fee, where are you spending that big fee instead?
Marquinhos? I don't know.
I love you for saying that, Lawrence. That's my dream signing. If we could sign one player this summer, it'd be Marquinhos.
Over Haaland?
Yeah.
Really? Okay, interesting. I'd like Marquinhos for 2 simple reasons. He can be a centre back, and he can be at the end. Because if we sign Marquinhos, we don't need Declan Rice either. So it solves all our problems.
Yeah, it
other
does.
Than the striking problems, obviously.
Apart from scoring goals.
Hence why I asked more than Haaland, because for me Haaland would be above Marquinhos. I'm not sure if Lukaku would be, though. It's weird. I know that maybe doesn't make 100% sense, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm edging. I don't know. I mean, Danny Ings, people are just shouting the craziest strikers out here now. But ladies and gentlemen, just quickly, because I haven't said it for a while, if you're new here, please be sure to subscribe. We're getting ever closer to 10,000 subscribers. We're less than 500 away at this point. So, we have 150 people watching. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. That'd be absolutely brilliant. And smash the like button, because I guarantee we don't have enough likes. But let me check. Let me check right now. We have currently, let me update, 57 likes, even though we have 150 people watching. So go down below and smash the like button right now. Let's get 100 likes. Come on, guys. Just click that little button. It doesn't cost you any money. It barely, takes any time, really. So just click that and make me happy. Jack Grealish, it's another one. I mean, we're just talking random, transfer targets now. But what about Jack Grealish? Would you want Jack Grealish at Chelsea?
Laurenz, I think quite a few people on Twitter know this, but my man crush is Jack Grealish.
What about Kane or something? There you go.
No, but he's my man crush. Like, I love him as footballer, but I just love how he looks, man. He's my man crush. I love Jack Grealish. I'd love to look like Jack Grealish. I'm all for Jack Grealish.
Today. He's got similar hair as well, I suppose.
Well, why do you think that is? No, seeing Jack Grealish in a Chelsea shirt would make me
see. I rate Jack Grealish for one reason and one reason only. He does not shave his legs, and that's the biggest reason. Like, stop shaving your legs. Like, what is this? I don't know where this came up with. The men shave their legs. I think it's the weirdest thing I've ever heard. Why would I want this? I don't understand. Unless you're a swimmer or a cyclist, I do not appreciate this. To be honest, footballers maybe have one of the reasons with all their, their tapes, and you rip them off and hair and shit. But Jack Grealish can make it work, so why can't everyone else make it work?
Exactly. Jack Grealish is GOAT.
There you go. Jack Grealish is GOAT. Well, Vestergaard Red. Who is this person? Why are all these people telling me stuff about football games that my phone hasn't told me about yet? But maybe it's true this time. That hair makes so much sense now. But in terms of actually as a player, do we need him? Would he be a brilliant player? Of course he would. But it's almost a similar discussion as with Dybala, just at in my opinion, lower level. We have too many of those types of players already.
Jack Grealish would be a great signing, but it'd be signing the player for the sake of signing him, not because there's an actual need for that, No,
100%. Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. I mean, I don't really know. Like, you asked me now, which striker would you want to sign if we can't get Haaland or Lukaku? Would it be Calvert-Lewin but is Calvert-Lewin even realistic? I don't know. But would it be Calvert-Lewin or who would you pick?
So if
Southampton are a bunch of waste men. I was hyping up the Austrian manager Hasenhüttl a few months ago when he beat Liverpool at Anfield. What's he done since then? I haven't even won a game since then, I swear. What a job. Ridiculous. Pissing me right off. But anyway, sorry, I interrupted you. What were you going to say?
I'm also a massive fanboy of Lautaro Martinez. I have been for years.
Okay.
I call him the Aguero regen because I think he is. I just really enjoy watching him. I know he's not the most clinical finisher, probably not what Chelsea need, but could you imagine an attack that consists of Lautaro, Havertz, Mount, Pulisic? It'd be so smooth, just the changing, the passing, the touches. It'd be so smooth, Laurenz. Incredibly smooth.
It would be. I've watched a little bit of Serie A last season. Not really this season, I will admit. And I only really checked highlights this season. And whenever I've seen highlights, it's like Lukaku getting all the goals, Martinez not doing anything. So I'm like, I don't know. A season ago, I would have probably agreed with you, but now I'm not sure I do, if that makes sense. I'm not sure how much you've obviously watched him this season, but any difference between if you asked this question a year ago to right now?
No, I would have probably gone harder on Lautaro Martinez, to be honest. I've gone off him a tad bit, just because the finishing is still a bit meh. But it's one of them players you just enjoy watching, he can pull out a little bit of trickery, or a bit of.
Well, we already have Havertz for that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, Kai Havertz needs to start showing it more often,
Oh, he's always good to watch, I reckon. He just can't score, so sadly.
Oh, yeah. Do you think we need a creator of some sorts to link to attack?
No, I think we need a formation change for that, personally.
You think it's formation and not personnel, yeah?
Well, I don't think these creative type players have done well enough, but I think they're good enough players to fulfill that role. But I think the current formation makes it more difficult for players to be super creative because the Sixers play too deep for that. Obviously, aside from when we play super low blocks and someone like Kovacic gets it, or Kante, but Kante can't do it. Kovacic gets into good enough positions and he should be better. But I think because Mount and Havertz, especially when he plays up front, or even Ziyech in this formation now, they're too close to the box and too close to the striker to be proper creative. Like, if you think of creative players, you aren't a creative player inside the box at the edge of the box. You're creative outside of that. That's where you can create. Once you're already in and around the box, especially when you're the type of team that we are and playing teams that are as steep as most teams are against us, there's so many people around you can barely be creative anymore. You're just trying to not lose the ball. That's all you're really doing at that point. Do you know what I mean?
No, yeah, I totally get what you're saying there. I'd be inclined to agree with you, actually. I think it's formation more than personnel.
Wait, what? It got a penalty as well? What are we talking about here now?
Oh, no, Leicester got a pen.
I don't know. Was the red card a pen? I'm confused. We're going to touch on one or two more comments here. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to use the super chat function, of course, you're always very welcome to. You don't have to, but, I'd appreciate it. Some reader with a comment here saying, Varane, Dybala, Aouar, Declan Rice, Rabiot, Tuchel, sorry if I butchered his name, buy and sell Zuma Tomori Tammy. Well, you want us to sign 4 central midfielders and not sell anyone? What are you doing? Like, Aouar is a CM, Declan Rice is a CM/DM, Rabiot is a CM, and Tuchel, if I'm not mistaken, is a CM too. So what are you doing? No, let's not do that.
Yeah, that's a bit of a weird one. Sell Zuma Tomori Tammy, but you're signing Aouar, Dybala, very similar players there. Rabiot, who like Declan can play in a pivot.
Rabiot is so overrated anyway.
I used to love him at PSG, Laurenz. And when he went to Juventus, I was like, this guy stinks.
I rate it. But the attitude that guy's got, I don't want anyone else.
Yeah. It reminds me of, what's his name? The guy who used to play for QPR. Is it Tarat?
Yeah,
he reminds me of that guy. I
mean, Ben Arfa are the same, really, even if they're not the same guy.
Yeah.
Jorginho Sell, some reader, you're lucky I don't block you now. It's outrageous statements. What are you doing? He's been our best player all season. No, I'm joking. But our best DM in the last few weeks, anyway. What about João Felix? Well, what about João Felix? Same reasoning for me as with Dybala. I don't want another type player that plays in the same position. Sure, if we didn't have the likes of Mount and Havertz and Ziyech and Pulisic and Callum and all these lot, and Werner, who's not an actual striker, then I'd say, yeah, sure, go for Dybala, go for João Felix, go for these type of players. But we have way too many in those positions. We're not going to sell probably any of them, maybe definitely not more than one of them, and then it's still a problem, if that makes sense.
No, you're spot on with that. Like, João Felix, like, if we're playing career mode or something, it'd be great to add to our Chelsea teams,
Yeah.
But, like, more than anything, we need is someone who can put the ball in the back of the net, first and foremost. That needs to be, like, their biggest attribute, And that's why Haaland and Lukaku were coming up. Like, I'd love João Felix, but not in this lifetime,
100%. I mean, I doubt that, Jester. I doubt that, because for that to happen, we'd need to sign 2 central midfielders, and I very much doubt that. The year after, I could see that happening, that he leaves for wherever Sarri goes, or some Italian team anyway. I don't think this season. I think it's been too good, personally. For Tuchel to want to sell him, for the club to care to sell him, and also, I don't think the Italian clubs can afford anywhere near the money we'd want for him. And like, we're possibly going to a Champions League final, and he's, I think, started pretty much every Champions League game, right? Maybe with 1 or 2 exceptions, to get us to a Champions League final. You're not selling that guy like that for under 56. Like, you could argue we've improved his value this season. Like, if we get to a Champions League final, let alone we win the Champions League final, you have to sell him for more than what we signed him for. I know he's a bit tad older, but still. So, and no Italian club will have the money for that. So, do you know what I mean? Even if Sarri goes Roma, they can't afford that. Yarmolenko from West Ham. Cheers. Like, we play with Alonso, not against Alonso. That's the only way Yarmolenko looks good. It's a whole mess. Let's bring it back to, just for a minute, a little bit of Chelsea against Fulham, because we went all the way away from that. Like, we started talking about Ruben Loftus Cheek, and we started talking about transfer targets, but I had a good laugh. Chelsea Fulham. we spoke about the team we'd like to see. Super quick. Let's just rile down. What do we actually think Tuchel will start? And then let's go prediction. So Mendy and goal, right? Back three, do we think he will pick the same one that we pick?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So that is then Zuma, left centre back because Rudiger is injured for people that might have tuned in later. Christensen, central centre back to give Thiago Silva a rest and Aspie right centre back. Then as wing backs, we'd have probably Reece James and Marcos Alonso. I mean, we'd have Emerson, but it will be Reece James and Alonso from Tuchel, right?
Yeah, I agree.
There you go. And then in midfield, we were unsure. I was unsure. I mean, Con was a bit more sure than me, to be honest. He said Billy Gilmore and N'Golo Kante. I, in the end, agreed. But what do you think Tuchel will pick? And Jester, appreciate you as always. Take care, man. But what do you think Tuchel will pick? Because I have just no idea.
Yeah, I think he goes with that because, like, he's been talking about Jorginho being tired for a while now, hasn't he? Like, it's not the first time he's mentioned Jorginho being tired. So,
but today he hyped how fresh he looked.
Tuchel, man, can you just make it easy for us, like, to guess your lineup, please, bro?
Honestly,
once.
You know, I'll tell you what. I think he starts Jorginho and Kante again, with the hope that Kovacic is fit for Madrid.
That'd be a big ball play, to be honest. Like, it's risky, isn't it?
It is risky. If Kovacic isn't fit, we're screwed. But I think he might back on that because obviously we have big games coming up, right? With Man City, we've got Arsenal, we've got Leicester, FA Cup, but also Leicester in the league and Aston Villa. But in a weird way, other than the Leicester game, because it's kind of a direct rival, you could argue that getting the 3 points tomorrow is arguably more important. I suppose it's equally as important, but it's arguably more important tomorrow than against City, for example. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, for the confidence in the squad, for the kind of the hope for the other teams. Like, if we win tomorrow and then we get a draw against City, no one will say, we're going to put top four. No one's going to say that for that. But if we don't win tomorrow, that puts the pressure on on our players again. It gives the teams around us or just behind us in the top four race a little bit of hope. So you could make a case that tomorrow is more important, and with that logic, you would probably stick with Jorginho and Kante, I suppose. Even though with the way Fulham attack, defend, and then you have Kante as the most furthest forward player again of the midfield too. It's like, do I need that? I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you agree with that? That maybe Fulham is arguably more important than, say, the City game in a weird way?
Yeah. You're right, because if we lose or draw against City, it's City, you know?
Yeah.
But you can't draw or lose against Fulham. Like, that has to be 3 points. And every game's big now, isn't it? Every single game's big, so...
It's just 3 points. That's all that matters. It doesn't really matter who it's against at this point and who will be more likely to get 3 points against Fulham. I suppose you can make the case we're more likely to get 3 points against Fulham with more rotation, which is why there will be more rotation tomorrow than there will be against City. But between the last game and tomorrow, we had 3 days. Between Madrid's second leg and Man City, we have 2 days. So for just fatigue reasons, you could say it's easier to play the best team tomorrow than it is against City, and maybe we just accept the L against City and rest a load of players. I don't know.
I'd hate to be Tuchel, that's what I'm saying. I'd hate to be Tuchel.
Honestly, it's crazy. The schedule is insane. Obviously, we had a somewhat unfortunate draw in terms of how tough our last 2 games of the season were or are. I mean, we obviously made it more difficult for ourselves by making a Champions League bloody final, semi-final. Jinxed it. Don't jinx it. Touch wood. Cross fingers. Everything. But I suppose we made it more difficult that way. But there's always a possibility of that. So it's tough. It's super tough. But so do you think there's a case for that in terms of that he actually does start that midfield too, or do you not think he will?
No, there's always a case for that, Laurenz. To be honest, mate. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if he did. Like, I expect to see Gilmore tomorrow, but if I see Jorginho and Kante, I'm not surprised in the slightest at all.
Yeah. No, I would agree. I mean, it's weird. Like, I still think in terms of playing Fulham, it makes more sense if Jorginho can hack it to play Gilmore and Jorginho than it makes for me to play Billy and Kante. Just for me. But yeah, if I would have to put money on it and someone forced me, I think Jorginho Kante is the most likely, personally. As crazy as that might sound. But then we go to the front three. I think Kai and Ziyech are pretty much set on. I think the only question is who starts left, inside, forward, whatever you want to call it. Who do you reckon it will be? Do you think it will just be Man? It could be. But if Mount plays, you could also make a case that he plays in midfield rather than Billy.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. I'm gonna go with. I think Callum's gonna start tomorrow.
I wouldn't be surprised if he does, but I think he's more likely to start right wing back because how many games has Tuchel given him as a start in the front three? Like
Yeah,
two?
that's true. And even when he has, he's played on the right, hasn't he?
True. And that's unlikely. Unless the only way that would somewhat make sense to me is if we start Giroud and then we play Ziyech on the left of the three and Callum on the right of the three for the crosses. But if we don't play Giroud, then I want the opposite foot. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
I mean, or it's just Werner, right? Kai, Ziyech,
Yeah.
Werner might be. Like Werner, obviously. Actually, when did Werner last have a rest? Well, Palace he didn't play, and Porto second leg he didn't play. Then he played City and he played Madrid, West Ham and he played Madrid. That's why he played the last. But Werner is one of those players that physically is not far off Mason in terms of being capable of going game after game. So I suppose if you're looking at fitness, and he doesn't want to start Callum for whatever weird reasons, as too many managers have at this point to think it's a weird coincidence at this point, in my opinion. But it's probably Werner. I honestly, I just don't know. Let's put that behind us because we're not going to know anyway. Let's be honest. Score prediction. Going to be positive. You're going to be confident. You're going to give us a heart prediction and a head prediction. What you're going to do, Colin?
Heart prediction 6-0 Chelsea. Head prediction a 1-0 Chelsea.
1-0. 1-0 sounds very likely. Do you know what? I'm going to do something very quickly. I'm going to open that little app here. Go to Fulham. Go to their matches. How many goals have they conceded? 1 goal against Arsenal, 97th minute or 96th. 1 goal against Wolves. 3 goals against Villa. 2 against Leeds, 3 against City, none against Liverpool. They won 1-0. 1 against Spurs. Yeah, 1-0. Maybe 2-0. Maybe a late 2-0. I'm just to be different. I'm gonna say 2-0, but I don't know. 1-0 or 2-0 are probably the most likely. And I just hope it's not a dead 0-0 again. That's what I'm really hoping for. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I can't stand another 0-0 against the side in relegation.
Honestly, cannot hack it. But ladies and gentlemen, we had a lovely stream, a longer stream than I expected, but we had a good time. We spoke about the most random of things. So I appreciate every single one of you that has tuned in, every single one of you that interacted in the chat. Again, we're getting ever so closer to 10,000 subscribers, so make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. It doesn't cost you any money. Just click that big subscribe button below, and just do that. Help me get 10,000 subscribers. It would mean a lot. Smash the like button. Become a member if you fancy that. There's a join button underneath if you're on desktop, or a link in the description if you're on your phone. But yeah, Con, as always, thank you for coming on. Check out Con on Twitter. Not that he needs any more followers, but if you don't follow him already, his link is down in the description. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea. Let's hope we can get the dub tomorrow. And up the Chelsea, upwards and onwards. And I'll see you next time.